The idea that your brown eyes are just brown is an oversimplification, a quiet lie we've accepted as fact. In truth, science recognizes at least 7 distinct types. Each is a unique code written by genetics and physics, revealing hidden evolutionary advantages and specific vulnerabilities. One type is an ancient shield, the original blueprint of all humanity. Another is so rare it's known as the wolf eye, a solid amber found more often in apex predators than in people. So the question isn't whether your eyes are brown. The question is, which brown are they? To discover if you possess this rare trait, or which of the other 6 is yours, we must begin our journey at the source, the original blueprint for all human eyes. That blueprint is called Obsidian. What many mistake for true black eyes is actually the deepest possible shade of brown. This is obsidian. It is defined by an incredibly dense concentration of a single pigment, eumelanin, in the front layer of your iris. Imagine light as a constant barrage of information. For you, nearly 99% of that barrage is simply absorbed, swallowed by a layer of pigment so dense it creates a near-perfect biological shield. This is not just a color, it's the original design for human eyes, forged near the equator. It acts as a pair of built-in sunglasses. Think of driving directly into a setting sun. Where others squint and pull down the visor, their world washed out in a blinding glare, you experience a remarkably clear, defined view. The light is intense, but your vision cuts through it.
This is your evolutionary advantage, superior visual acuity and glare resistance in bright conditions. Some research even suggests this high melanin content correlates with faster reactive motor skills, a subtle edge in sports and reflex-based tasks. Of course, every evolutionary advantage comes with a trade-off. Preliminary studies hint at a potential link between high melanin and a lower tolerance for pain. But see this for what it is. You carry a high-performance survival tool, a direct genetic legacy passed down from our earliest, most resilient ancestors. Obsidian is the story of maximum density, but this raises a new code to decipher. What happens when that density is slightly reduced, allowing the texture of the iris to finally be seen?
And what if an entirely different pigment, a reddish one, enters the genetic equation? This is where the story of brown eyes begins to truly branch. When that density is reduced, the result is the second type, espresso brown. This is the most common shade of brown eyes on the planet, but common does not mean simple. Unlike the solid shield of obsidian, espresso brown has a slightly lower concentration of eumelanin. This subtle change allows just enough light to penetrate the surface, revealing for the first time the true topography of the iris itself. Imagine a narrow beam of light moving across your eye. It wouldn't just reflect off a flat surface. It would catch on ridges and dip into valleys, a complex geography of crypts and furrows that is entirely unique to you, like a fingerprint. This is your eye's hidden texture. This structural difference is also linked to a fascinating evolutionary trait. A study from Georgia State University observed that individuals with darker eyes, like espresso, often report a higher sensitivity to alcohol. This isn't a weakness. It's better understood as a built-in biological safety switch, a subtle primal feedback mechanism that helps guard your system. The trade-off for this hidden texture is purely aesthetic. In dim indoor lighting, this intricate landscape can flatten, appearing as a simple, uniform brown. And perhaps this is the perfect metaphor. It mirrors the experience of many deep thinkers, a complex inner world full of nuance and depth that is only truly visible to those who take the time to look closely under the right light. So dialing down melanin reveals texture. We have moved from density to topography. But this still only accounts for shades on a monochromatic scale, from near black to dark brown. It doesn't explain the glints of fire, the warm reddish undertones some brown eyes possess.
To understand that, we must introduce a completely new variable, a second type of pigment. That second pigment is called pheomelanin. It's the molecule of fire, the same chemical code that writes the story of red hair and freckles. When it interacts with the eumelanin we've already discussed, it creates our third type, cognac brown. In most lighting, these eyes appear to be a standard warm brown, but in direct sunlight, they reveal what was hidden, a distinct reddish, coppery, or even golden undertone. This is the pheomelanin at work, governed by variants in the MC1R gene family. It doesn't replace the dark eumelanin base, it adds a second, fiery layer on top. This isn't just a color, it's a living record of a great journey. Think of your ancestors migrating away from the intense equatorial sun, moving north into lands of mist and weaker light. Their bodies needed a way to synthesize vitamin D more efficiently with less UV exposure. This reddish pigment, allowing slightly more light to penetrate the iris, is the genetic echo of that adaptation. Your eyes tell the story of your ancestors adapting to new worlds. The trade-off is a direct consequence of this ancient survival strategy. With a lower concentration of purely protective eumelanin, you have a higher sensitivity to UV radiation. Needing sunglasses isn't a weakness, it's a biological marker, proof that your ancestry is adapted for a world with less intense sun. So far, we've seen eyes of pure darkness and eyes infused with fire. But there is a third state of matter, not solid, not flame, but smoke. There exists a type of brown eye that appears cool, almost gray or slate-colored, whose appearance comes not from the pigment it contains, but from the physics of how light scatters within it. This changes the rules entirely. It suggests some brown eyes aren't brown at all. They're an atmospheric illusion.
That atmospheric illusion has a name: ash brown. This is the fourth type, a shade that can be visually confusing. It's a cool, slate-colored brown that often looks as if you're seeing it through a subtle gray filter. The warmth is gone, replaced by a muted, almost dusty quality. This isn't because of a gray pigment, it's pure physics. Your eye color is a demonstration of the Tyndall effect. Imagine light entering your iris. The melanin that provides the base brown color is located deeper in the stroma. Above it, however, is a translucent layer with a higher density of microscopic collagen fibers. This cloudy medium scatters the incoming light. Just as smoke or fog appears bluish because it scatters shorter, cooler wavelengths of light more effectively, your iris does the same. It filters the light, scattering back the blues and grays, which then mix with the deeper brown, creating that signature cool ashen tone. Your hidden advantage is a form of subtle camouflage. This neutral color doesn't demand attention. It blends, it observes. Genetically, it often points to a history of blended ancestries, common in populations from Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and Central Asia, where different genetic lines have merged. Your eyes are the quiet evidence of worlds colliding. The trade-off is that this shade can appear flat in photographs. Because it scatters cool light and absorbs warm light, it doesn't pop with the golden flecks of other types. Its beauty is subtle, requiring closer appreciation, much like the quiet observer who possesses it. We've seen how a cloudy medium can scatter light to create a cool tone. But what happens if the medium is clear and the pigment itself is so sparse that physics doesn't just filter the light, but completely takes over, turning the iris into a living prism? That brings us to the chameleon of the brown-eyed world. This is type 5, russet or honey gold. Imagine an eye that appears as a deep, unassuming brown in a quiet room. But as you step into the sunlight, it doesn't just lighten, it ignites. It catches fire, transforming into a pool of liquid honey or burnished gold. This isn't an illusion, it's physics taking complete control. With russet eyes, you have a Goldilocks amount of melanin, just enough to provide a light brown or yellow base, but sparse enough to render the stroma, the very fabric of your iris, translucent. This is where a phenomenon called Rayleigh scattering occurs. It's the exact same reason the sky appears blue. As light enters your eye, the shorter blue wavelengths scatter off the microscopic collagen fibers within your iris. This scattered blue light then mixes with your natural yellow-brown base pigment. The result isn't brown, and it isn't blue. It's that unique, shimmering golden hue that seems alive. Your evolutionary advantage is this very chameleon effect. Think of your eye as a biological dimmer switch, constantly recalibrating to its environment. It's the physical manifestation of a highly perceptive and adaptable mind, one that doesn't just see the world, but reflects it. The trade-off, however, is a vulnerability to that same light. With less melanin acting as a protective filter, you enter the medium risk zone for photophobia. The beauty of the light scattering through your iris comes at the price of being more easily overwhelmed by it. Russet eyes represent a perfect, delicate equilibrium between pigment and physics. But what happens if that equilibrium is shattered? What if we strip away the brown pigment almost entirely, letting that golden yellow stand alone, unmixed and unfiltered? You get this, the sixth type, amber. This is the true wolf eye, and it is breathtakingly rare in humans. Before you mistake it for hazel, look closer. Hazel is a mosaic of different colors. Amber is a solid, uniform field of light brown, copper, and gold. There are no other pigments, no rings, no flecks. It is a single, solid, glowing color. The science behind it is a story of radical imbalance. Remember the brown-black pigment, eumelanin, and the yellow-red pigment, pheomelanin? In amber eyes, the eumelanin is almost completely absent. What you are seeing is a high concentration of pheomelanin shining through, pure and unfiltered. This genetic anomaly is what gives the eye its startling, luminous quality. Its evolutionary advantage is not physical, but psychological. In a world of blended, muted tones, this eye commands attention. It mirrors the gaze of apex predators, wolves, eagles, owls, animals that operate with singular focus. The trade-off is in social perception. Because it is so rare and so animalistic, it can be perceived by others as intense, mysterious, or even intimidating. If you have these eyes, you have likely felt this. You may have been told you look serious or are hard to read. Understand this. It is not a social defect. It is the biological signature of an untamed primal energy. It is the eye of the lone wolf, unapologetically itself. It was never designed to blend in. We have journeyed through the spectrum of pigment and the physics of light to arrive here at the rarest color of all. But the seventh and perhaps most captivating type of brown eye is not a color. It is a pattern. It is what happens when two distinct genetic legacies collide within a single iris, creating a masterpiece of biological art. This pattern is called starburst. It manifests as a dense, dark ring of brown pigment tightly encircling your pupil, which then explodes outward into streaks of gold, green, or hazel. It is not one color, but a collision of them. The science behind this is a form of central heterochromia. Think of it as a moment of genetic artistry during development. The melanocytes, the cells responsible for pigment, worked intensely around the pupil, packing it with eumelanin. But as they moved outward, they seemed to run out of steam, leaving the outer iris with significantly less pigment, which then allows lighter colors to reveal themselves. This creates a hidden advantage, a biological focus hack. The high contrast between the dark inner ring and the lighter outer ring creates a natural bullseye effect. It subconsciously funnels an observer's gaze directly to your pupil, making eye contact feel more intense and holding their attention more deeply. You are, quite literally, biologically designed to be looked at, to hold focus. The trade-off is a lifetime of beautiful confusion. You will constantly be asked, what color are your eyes? Because they defy simple categorization. They are a genetic hybrid, a visible testament to the fact that two distinct genetic legacies, one for dark eyes and one for light, merged perfectly within a single iris. So, whether your eyes are a solid shield against the sun, a shifting chameleon that dances with the light, or a captivating starburst that commands attention, they all originate from the same control panel. A single master switch on your 15th chromosome is responsible for all of them, and understanding how it works is the key to understanding your own unique blueprint. That master switch, located on chromosome 15, is a gene called HERK2. Think of HERK2 as the biological volume knob for melanin. It doesn't create the pigment itself, it tells the body how much to produce. It is the architect of your eye color. Turn that knob all the way up, and the production of eumelanin is so dense it creates the near-impenetrable shield of obsidian eyes.
Set it somewhere in the middle, and you reveal the balanced, detailed landscape of Espresso. Turn the dial down to a whisper, and you allow for the scattered, warm light of Russet and Honeygold. Every shade, every pattern we've explored is simply a different setting on this one genetic control. This is the ultimate proof that your brown eyes are not just a color. They are a complex atmospheric layer, a biological shield, a unique setting inherited from your ancestors. So we've decoded the science. But the true story begins when you look in the mirror and finally understand the code that is written in your own eyes. And now it's your turn to read that code. I want you to go to a mirror, perhaps using a phone's flashlight held at a safe distance, to gently illuminate the details. Look closely. Then come back here and tell me in the comments which of these 7 shades is truly looking back at you. Do you carry the intense, solid gold of the rare amber eye, the ancestral red-hued depth of Cognac, or the hidden bullseye of the Starburst? I read every single comment, and I am genuinely fascinated to see the genetic map we can create in this space together. If this exploration has revealed something new about the face you see every day, a simple light confirms we are on the right path. And to continue decoding the hidden psychological and biological blueprints that shape who we are, subscribe for our next analysis. Until then.